Alright guys, welcome back to the final round. My name is Jake, and we got some more boxing for today. So, wanted to go into some of the fights that happened this past weekend. One in particular involving, right now, the youngest current world champion in boxing. Where's he at? This guy. Moving into the picture. This guy right here in the center of the picture. I'll move over so you can see the picture better, guys. This right here, that is Xander Zayas. I'm Xander Zayas or Zayas. I don't know how you say his last name. He's Puerto Rican. He's really good. I'm gonna make it small now. There we go. So he is now the youngest current world champion of boxing. He won the vacant WBO Junior Middleweight title this past Saturday. Apparently, I didn't know this. Apparently, ESPN and Top Rank are splitting up, which I was actually happy to hear. I was watching the fight, and I was watching it on ESPN Plus. I think I was watching the Ultimate Fighter episode or something, and then once I finished it, I went back to ESPN. I was like, oh, because I saw he was fighting, and I know of him through Callum Walsh. They've been rumored to fight forever. I'll get into that later. But I saw this and I was like, oh, there's Zayas is fighting. Cool. And I've heard of him. I had never actually watched him fight live, but I heard of him. I'd seen highlights of him fight before. I didn't know he was this young. He's 22 years old. I didn't know he was 22 years old. It's younger than me. I thought he was at least 25, 26, around the same age of Callum Walsh. He's 26. So I decided, you know what? I'll watch the fight. I don't know what's better to do on a Saturday night. Popped on the fight, and I think I popped it on the fight before when Shushu Carrington was fighting. He's another young, promising guy, featherweight. And he didn't really get a lot of credit from the top ranked guys. I thought he fought a good fight, but could have been more impressive. And I think I've spoken on this before. When you're watching, I think right now to watch, obviously, MMA, you have to watch UFC. Because the great thing about, and I'm going to make a video about the overall commentary in combat sports. I think there's a lot of problems with it right now. In mixed martial arts, you'll usually find that most of it is pretty good. Most of it is pretty solid. Most of it is, for the most part, unbiased and just, a view of the practical fight. Obviously, everyone has biases. We're human beings. Thanks, Superman. I'm the most human part about me. It's awesome. If you guys haven't seen Superman, go watch it. The movie's awesome. I'm not gonna step on Secret Identities. I'm there to shout out to Troy Braun and Brand. Those are my favorite comic book YouTubers. You guys are awesome. Back to boxing. So I've heard about Xander Zayas. I put the fight on, and it was kind of funny. I put the broadcast on, and Shushu Carrington had just finished his interview. And I thought, you know what? I'm gonna put someone else on. It's gonna be about 30 minutes before Xander Zayas fights. And it was hilarious because I'm thinking, because in the UFC, sometimes you get some of the walks to the cage are pretty long, but in boxing they have to and it's not promos. They just take forever because they got to do especially when it's not pay per view. When it's pay per view, it won't take that long. But considering this was an ESPN Plus show, they tried to. I must have made a bunch of commercials. What they probably did was they showed him wrapping his hands, went to commercial, showed him hitting pads, went to commercial, showed a bunch of visuals about his career. He could be his champion, and then maybe his opponent, Jorge Garcia Perez, who is a good fighter. I'll go with him. He's a good fighter. I thought he fought better than maybe Top Rank gave him credit for. Joe Tessitore tried. It's kind of funny because I've been shitting on Top Rank commentary for a while, and obviously Top Rank itself. When I was doing research for this video, and I was, getting his picture here, I saw a picture of Xander Zayas standing with Bob Arum, and I didn't want to throw up my mouth. Disgusting. Honestly, as soon as he dies, guys, I'm gonna make the biggest Bob Arum shit video because I'm waiting until he dies. I'm gonna do it on the day he dies or right after, and I'm gonna make sure I'm so like anti Bob Arum that Dana White watches that video and goes stud. I don't know if I hate him as much as Dana White because I don't have any real personal reason. I just hate him because I'm a boxing fan and he's ruined boxing, as well as Don King. But unlike Don King, unlike Bob Arum. Don King's done some good things for boxing. Not judging and corruption. That's one thing. He's not good. Whatever. But basically, yeah. Like, I put the fight on. I'm like, you know what? I'll go watch something else. Give me a while till he fights. I put it back on like 40 minutes later, and it's the third round. And this is 40 minutes after the last fight's been over for 10 minutes. So it's been almost an hour, and he's only in the third round. I'm like, come on, man. Because I was hoping, all right, 6, 7 round. Or I remember the 5th round, I don't know, but it was early in the fight. And I went back and I watched the whole fight today, and it was a complete waste of time. The first 3 rounds were just like almost a lot of pot shotting. Wasn't much action, so I'm glad I didn't even bother watching that at the time. It was live, and it was a pretty good fight overall. I thought that Xander Zayas did some good work to the body. His jab was strong. He is a really young, talented boxer. He's good. He's a good, young, talented boxer with good skills. He's got a good jab. His footwork's his footwork's really good, actually. He's a guy with really solid footwork. From the guy he's fought, overall decent chin. He's undefeated. He's undefeated. He undefeated guy, 22-0. Not a lot of sting on his shots. He's not a power guy. He's 22-0, 13 knockouts. I mean, he isn't really a power guy. Garcia Perez has been knocked out before. He did knock him out. So he's so young. He's 22. That's why I'm making this video right now. He's so young that I'm just saying, from what I saw watching the fight on Saturday, there's a lot of potential to work with here. I forgot his trainer's name, Javier Centennial. I forgot. I'm not sure if that's his name or not. The Montiels were in Perez's corner. But yeah. Oh, why is the CPU doing this again? Guys, I don't know why. Every time OBS just sucks. OBS is just terrible, terrible, terrible. Because it doesn't ever work. Nothing's good. That better? No. I don't know. OBS sucks. I wish something was better to record. I'm going to have to find something better. This sucks. So, the fight's going on. Encoding overloaded. Dude, just freaking record on the computer, you idiot. As you guys can tell, I'm not a tech savvy guy. If I'm having trouble recording on OBS, there's probably something I can do. I'm an idiot. I'm sure Isaiah will tell me. So it was a good fight overall. I thought, pretty solid fight. Isaiah was kind of, and then he fought good early. He landed some really good shots. He stumbled Garcia Perez at the end of round 6 with kind of a looping shot top of the head that made Garcia Perez kind of stumble back to the ropes. And then round 7 was good, and then round 8, it seemed like every time he got inside after round, he just clinched. He clinched and evaded pretty much after that. He had good spots of success as just a boxing fan, and I wasn't judging the whole fight, but I started sort of kind of judging rounds in my head after round 7. I would have obviously given round 6, 7 to Zayas, of course. But from round 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, the last 5 rounds, I scored 3 out of the 5 of them for Garcia Perez. I think all 5 of them were close. Round 8, Zayas probably won. He landed a really good combo to the body at the start of the round. He landed a 2 or 3 really good flurry combinations in the last minute of the round. This is kind of how the last 5 rounds of the fight went. Garcia Perez was kind of plodding forward. He doesn't have a good guard. He's a solid guy. His record before the fight was 33-4. Good solid guy. Hasn't really, and he's only 28 himself. He's a good fighter himself. He he fought Charles Conwell, who's a decent fighter. Lost to him. Hasn't really he hasn't really fought in really amazing fighters. Um, but but I would never put him on the overall level of world level. I don't think he is a world level guy in any stretch of the imagination. But I do think that I know he lost to Carlos Ocampo, who's a pretty good solid fighter. I think that if I had to put a ranking on Jorge Garcia Perez, that I'd probably put him as a mid-level contender guy, maybe a low-level contender guy. He's a pretty good fighter. He can beat all the lower club rank guys. Has success against mid-level guys. Actually, I'd probably put him as a low-level contender. He's going to be a guy that's going to turn into a journeyman, if that makes sense. He's probably going to turn into a journeyman gatekeeper type guy, where he probably will. He's 28 now. I'm sure he'll finish his career probably 65 wins and 20 losses. Something like that probably. Or if he goes back to Mexico and fights cab drivers, he'll end his career at 55 wins and 6 losses. Have 1 loss over. That's what happens when you fight cab drivers in Mexico, in Tijuana. But yeah, he's a pretty solid guy. He doesn't have the right dimensions. He got super long arms. He's very rangy, and instead of kind of using, I think what was struggling for Garcia Perez is that he couldn't. He doesn't have, for a guy who's very long and rangy and a very thin body and has long arms. He doesn't have a good jab. He does not have a good jab. Zayas clearly won the battle of the jabs early. As soon as I don't know if it was around 3 or 4. Yeah, I think it was around 3 or 4. From the first minute of watching, I'm like, yeah, Zayas has a better jab. There was a moment around 5 where they both kind of jabbed, and Zayas had it pretty much he stepped in like you're supposed to and landed it. Where Garcia Perez went ooh, and he just kind of threw it out there. And but as round 9 came along, and Garcia Perez was doing good work, and he was. I'll put the fight in now. Where's the? There we go. Move that out of the way. This is the fight. There we go. Yeah, so it was a good fight. I thought that round 9 was around that. Zayas might have hurt him in the last 20 seconds. He definitely lost a round before that. He was so. I'm not even sort of doing this, but the last 4 rounds were literally every time Garcia Perez got close and got inside, Zayas would tie up, and he was tying up all the time. Especially in the last 2 rounds, it got ridiculous. He kept tying. Every time Garcia Perez got in the mid range, not even close range, in mid range, Zayas would throw a shot and clinch, or he would there was one point he literally lunged and clinched. I could hear his corners because his coach going. I heard him say in Spanish. I don't know how you say it, but I recognized it from years in boxing. Hearing, I forgot. I don't know how to say the in Spanish, but it pretty means I think it means grab or hold on, because I've heard it so much as a boxer, being around Hispanic guys, fighting that I've heard that so much. I don't know what the word is. I forgot what word it is, but I want to hear it. I go, all right, the guy's tie up, and he kept trying to tie up. It was around 10 or 11. He literally just he wasn't even. I think Garcia Perez was in the ropes, and he had already thrown him off. And then, as Garcia Perez got thrown off, he threw a left hook, and he didn't land it. It hit the guard of Zayas. But you hear his coach say the thing, and he just lunged in the he grabbed him, and it was Jesus. I think from I look at the scorecards. I'm looking at them right now. Let's see what they scored. Yeah. So obviously, all 3 judges scored the first, 3 rounds for Zayas, and the scorecards were. I'll get to them in a second. The scorecards were pretty ridiculous. I think some of them were really terrible. Yeah. So in terms of the round scoring, I don't think that Garcia Perez won a round until probably round 8. Round 5 was a good round for him. as well. Didn't do too much, but still a little bit. And but yeah, it wasn't a bad fight. I think it was a good solid fight up until round 9 and 10. On round 10 is when I think from now just what I saw. I'm watching it back the other day or today. Rounds 1 and 2, Zayas was kind of just like moving, kind of finding his range. Both guys weren't doing much. Round 3 to 8, Zayas had good work. He was the more consistent guy. He probably won all of those 5 rounds. He might have lost round 5. That's the only round that was close. And overall the rounds were pretty close overall. But those 5 rounds, I'll say this, rounds 3, obviously given the first 2 rounds, Garcia Perez didn't do anything the first 2 rounds. So you're giving him 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, and 8. So yes, hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, so you're giving him 7 rounds. You give him 7 rounds. So at that point, he's already won the fight. But Garcia Perez, he in rounds 9, 10, 11, 12, he tried. And it was so weird. He was definitely taller and longer. He just decided to not. I don't think he's very good outside work because he was trying to get inside. And when he would get inside and attack Zayas in mid range, he was landing good shots. But every time that happened, at most Garcia Perez would land a good combo or 2, and then Xander would tie him up. But he was still doing pretty good work himself. He had a really solid combination at the start of round 11. I definitely think that he lost the last 2 rounds. That was clear. And for a young guy in his first world title opportunity, fighting a guy who's like a sort of a kind of low level contender, kind of gatekeeper type guy, it's the right fight at the right time. I've been looking over his record, and I really don't see any like super solid guys so far that he's fought. The only guy who I would view as pretty good is Elias Espadas, who is himself in the same category. He's kind of a low-level contender, kind of a young journeyman type guy. He's 23-7. He's not a bad guy, but he just lost to Callum Walsh after 5 rounds. What was that? I think a technical decision loss. But yeah, he's not a like really good fighter. But he is one of those guys that like you have to beat at 154 these days to get to the next level. And then he fought a good fighter in Jorge Fortea, who is a solid guy. He's 25-4-1. He is a good fighter. He's a pretty solid guy. He doesn't have much wins, but he beat Anthony Fowler, which was really a shocker. Even though Anthony Fowler's like older guy, he was supposed to absolutely dominate Jorge Fortea. Or no, oh, never mind. Fortea lost that fight. What am I looking at? Oh, good. No, I'm looking at a different fight. Yeah. Okay. He lost the Fowler. Okay, I'm thinking of something else. That's all right. That didn't sound good. I saw it. I was like, holy shit, he Anthony Fowler? No, he didn't actually Anthony Fowler. Okay. Yeah, but he himself is a decent guy himself. But let's be honest. Outside of that, I mean, he fought Patrick Teixeira, he's been around forever. He's like 35 years old. But I'm looking at his record. I'm the only guy who was really any sort of good fighter is the previous guy he fought, Slava Spumer, who missed 20-1, and he hasn't fought since Xander beat him back in February. But he's a decent guy. He was 20-0 at the time. He's a pretty good fighter, But outside, and he could be a future, I'm a level contender guy. But let's be honest, he hasn't fought anyone at world level. He hasn't. Just want to say it now before people just talk about like his coach saying that he wants to fight Sebastian Fundora. Good luck with that. Good luck with that kid. He's not ready for Sebastian Fundora. Throw him in there with Cordell Booker. Maybe pull Maurice Hooker out of retirement for 54, or Tim Tszyu. Don't get I do not get a guy or have him fight Spooner, have him fight anybody else, have him fight Callum Walsh. Like I'll get to that later. Have him fight anybody else with Sebastian Fundora. Sebastian Fundora would, and honestly, the whole reason why he got this title is because Sebastian Fundora vacated it because he wanted to fight Tim Tszyu again. As the whole reason why this title is vacant, because Sebastian Fundora knocked out Cordell Booker in March of this year, and when he knocked out him, he's fighting Patrick Alade. Yeah, he's fighting Patrick Alade. He's fighting that in Boston. What is that? It's the same night as. It's the same night as UFC 319. It's probably not on TV either. That's actually a really good fight. Let's go Cordell. He's a little guy from Connecticut. I've always been a pretty I felt bad because he had no chance beating Sebastian Fundora that night. But yeah, I'll say this: he's got very little chance to beat Sebastian Fundora right now. 22 years old, and but going back to the fight, it was a pretty solid fight. But the last 2 rounds he pretty much just held on and clinched and evaded mostly. And it's a smart tactic. He's got the fight in the bag. I'm sure his coach was telling him, hey, you got this fight in the bag. You're up at least 3 or 4 rounds. Let's not risk it. These last 2 rounds, let's pot shot move. If you find openings, take it, but mostly just hold on to him. Stay away. Let's win the fight. If I was his coach, I'd probably say the same thing. If you fought that way and you're up on the cards, I mean, it would have been nice to see him go for the knockout because he clearly had this thing to hurt him if he landed consistent combinations. I just think his coach is probably thinking, all right, we put the combos together early in the fight. At best, we wobbled him, and that was a big overhand shot top of the head. He was wobbled there, but even in that sequence where he wobbled him at the end of round 6, there wasn't much time, but he didn't, Xander didn't really follow up on that. Suffice to say, good performance. He got the win. He got the decision. I thought the cards were ridiculous. I forgot who the judge was. That gave him. It was Tony Paolillo. He scored at 160-112, which I think is the correct card because I thought that Garcia Perez won at least. He won. Yeah, I mean he definitely won rounds 11 and 12. Because you don't really get around for holding. It's not how it works. You don't get around for holding. I gotta be honest. Who scored it? Tom Schreck scored the fight 118-110, and Robin Taylor scored it 119 and 109. So that means that Robin Taylor gave 1 round to Garcia Perez. He gave round 12, which is 1 and 2 rounds per season. I don't know how all 3 judges gave round 11 as eyes. He scored a pretty good body shot, and he had like 1 or 2 flashy combinations, but they didn't land. They just hit the guard of Perez. But whatever. And it was pretty solid. But Tony Paolillo, 160-112 is what I would have scored it from the fight that I watched today and watching it live. I felt like the Garcia Perez won. He won round 8. He won round 9. Round 10 was close. Round 11, 12. You could have an argument he won the last 5 rounds, which means that if you give all 7 to Zayas, he still wins the fight. It wasn't a draw. I won't go that far and say that it wasn't a draw. Could I push myself to saying that? No. Do I think that Zayas didn't help himself by kind of clinching and holding for the last 2 rounds? Yeah, because he was a little tired, but I thought that Garcia Perez was more tired. So I don't know why he. It's a smart. If I was his coach, I'd probably say the same thing. If I saw the Garcia Perez was like getting hurt by shots, I would tell him to go for it. But Garcia Perez was still kind of coming forward most of the fight. He still was pretty good in the last couple rounds. He was still game. He landed 3 or 4 really good shots around 10. He landed a really good kind of looping overhand left in round 11 that it didn't stun Xander, but it definitely caught him. It definitely had some sting on it. And then Perez isn't a big knock. He got a bunch of knockouts, but it's all like it's tomato cans. let's say Xander Zayas is the new WBO not super junior middleweight champion, not super middleweight. That's one of Canelo's titles. But yeah, he is now the WBO junior middleweight champion, and you know, if we're going by lineal, the lineal WBO champion is obviously still Sebastian Fundora. He never lost that title in the ring, but still, you know, if I'm his management and if I'm looking at the overall rankings at 154, I'm telling you, okay, man, let's not be too crazy. You know, we fought good. You know, we fought good. Let's not risk it. Let's not go fight Sebastian Fundora right away. I'll give Zayas credit. He goes and fights Sebastian Fundora and wins. Holy shit. This guy's the real deal. Now, this video is about, is he the real deal? I don't know. Could he, with more time, he's got a good style. His combinations are, he's got some pretty combinations. Pretty nice. His body work's really good. His footwork is pretty freaking awesome. He's got a good solid jab. When he sets up his right hand, you know, when he sets it up, it's good. When he sets it up his right hand and follows through with it, it's a good right hand. When he was sometimes retreating, some of the flaws that I saw was when Garcia Perez was able to avoid the clinch and kind of force him to the ropes and get mid range. Xander once, one or two times would kind of throw kind of a, not a crazy overhand, but kind of a looping overhand a little bit, and then he would kind of like looping overhand and then throw a hook, and then he'd throw it, and then he'd drop his right hand, so he kind of throw it, and the whole time when Garcia caught the left was that same sequence. Xander threw a right, left, and didn't raise it up, and as he threw the left, and then he stepped in to go to the body maybe, and then he got caught with the left. So, but he's young. He's 22 years old. He's really young. I saw a lot of things I liked. Now the whole clinching and evading, I don't think that was like him. Like, that's not his style. I just think his coach told him to do that, or that was strategy before the fight. Hey, if we get up in the rounds, we're gonna coast. It's smart. He's 22 years old. Let's not risk him getting into a firefight. With a solid game guy. It was a good decision, and it's the right decision. Do I like it? No. Would it ever happen in MMA? Hell no. But it's boxing, and that's what you do when you're 22 years old and you're defeating a low to mid-level contender guy for your first world title. Correct? He did the right thing. He's 22-0. He's young. He's 22 years old, and he is the youngest active champion in boxing. Now he's obviously not the youngest champion ever. I think the youngest is still. For years, I thought it was Alfredo Benitez, but I think there was someone that did it that in the last 20 years that broke the record. But it should be Alfredo Benitez was 19. I think Mike was 20 or 21. I think. I'm pretty sure Mike was either 20 or 21 when he won the title. And he's obviously going to be the youngest heavyweight champion. I think John Jones was 23 or 24 when he won the UFC title. It's pretty young for a UFC guy. But yeah, Xander Zayas has his first world title, and it would have been nice to get a finish, but he still fought overall well. I saw a lot of things I liked, and I think one of the things I saw when I was watching, I'm like, you know what? He didn't fight perfectly. He was kind of doing way too much clinching and evading and moving away in the last 3 or 4 rounds, but I still came away from the fight, after hearing his interview, after hearing how passionate he is for Puerto Rico, and this was obviously at the Madison Square Garden theater arena, which is the sort of small kind of arena that they have that's like sort of underneath and next to MSG, the big one, because they call that the theater arena, and then the big one is the big house. And at who was there live, the number one Puerto Rican star in the country right now, and that's Amanda Serrano. She's filled the big house twice with Katie Taylor. She's filled it. So and I think it was important for her to be there. And after the fight, Xander went up to her, and they, and they spoke and talked. And I think it was important and they're all it's New York. There's a lot of Puerto Ricans that live there. I've been to Queens, so there's a lot of Puerto Ricans in Queens, and they're all great people. They're awesome people, and I think it was important for Xander to. I think it was important for him to win his first world title in a city where Amanda Serrano has established this big Puerto Rican support, and there were tons of flags there and a bunch of support, and it was good to see that, and I think it sort of made me okay. This guy could be something. He is right now. He has a trajectory to have a career similar to he's never going to be as big of a power puncher as Felix Kilo Trinidad. He's not going to be like Trinidad where he has a big power punch, but he could get to that level of a Puerto Rican legend, of someone who has a bunch of defenses, beats good guys, fights those from the best of the best, and beats them sometimes. He could get to that level and be I'm regarded as that. I don't know if he can, but he's got the tools, he's got the skills. His chin held pretty. I don't think Garcia Perez, as I said, he's not a big power puncher, so his chin was, serviceable for the night. I'd like to see him, and afterwards, Tim Bradley mentioned that because Mark Kriegel said, well, he should fight Fandora, and I really do enjoy listening to Mark Kriegel's boxing analysis. He's been in sports for decades and decades. He's interested in listening to it. And this is overall about the top rank commentary team. I do like Joe Tessitore. I don't dislike Joe Tessitore. I think he's on what he's directed to be, but he has great lines where he would say something like I'm Xander Zayas, his first world title opportunity, doing it for his country, that kind of stuff, where he gets that kind of where he brings that emotion out of you. When I can tell it's not biased, it's great. The problem is on Top Rank, it's always biased. And I did like, and the fact I had no idea that this was apparently Top Rank's last show on HBO. I had no clue at all. I hope Top Rank goes to like Rumble or something, or goes to like, Twitch or YouTube and stays the hell off ESPN. Actually, I don't mind on ESPN because I don't watch it that much. During COVID, I watched a lot of it because there was almost no pay-per-views. I couldn't sell pay-per-views back then. Nothing would have sold. So, but it was overall a pretty good fight by Xander Zayas. He has his first world title. I thought it was overall a pretty good show by ESPN. And, I'm never going to wish Top Rank any good things. Obviously, I hate Top Rank. And I don't know. I think Tim Bradley might be part of Top Rank. I don't think he's part of ESPN. I think Joe Tessitore and Mark Kriegel are a part of ESPN, and then that Roberto Sosa guy, the guy who does the in-ring interviews. I forgot his name, but he's a Hispanic guy. I think him and Tim Bradley. I think they're top. Well, I think definitely Tim Bradley is. I think ESPN is Joe Tessitore. I don't know who's on which team. All I know is that it's ending, and it could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. Who cares? But yeah, I'm interested to see where Xander Zayas will go. I'm interested to see. He's 22 years old. He's in a pretty good young division. You got Madrimov, you got Murtazaliev, you got Fundora, you got Tim Tszyu, you got Cordell Booker. You got a bunch of guys there. A good division. What I would say is, if Cordell Booker can get past Patrick Atali, which he's fighting in August, I'm giving my boy Cordell Booker another shot at the title. He lost to Fundora. Let's see if Xander Zayas can beat him in the same way. If he does, it gives him and Fundora a common opponent. They don't have much common opponents at all. I'm sure they may have a couple from early in their careers, but no one of any value. So right now, I see they go, Then he has common opponents before they can fight. Now, what I do like what Tim Bradley said, and I alluded to this earlier. He said, because they asked him about Fundora, he said, Fundora's, and I agree, Fundora's really good. I mean, I thought Tszyu won the first fight. I thought Tszyu was going to beat him this time. Fundora won both fights, and he's freaking good, dude. He's solid. He's awesome. I don't like looking at the guy because he's just massive. He doesn't look like a guy that should be any good. He's skinny, tall, no muscle, but he has a lot of freaking power. I think it's all in his legs. I don't know, man. crazy stuff. But yeah, I am interested to see where Xander Zayas goes from here. And he's 22 years old. He's young. He's got a lot to learn and a lot to gain, but he's got a lot of potential. So I'm interested to see where he goes from here. All right, that's going to do it, guys, for this episode of The Final Round. See ya.